It's going to be a long travel day. From Cape Town, we fly to Johannesburg, and then on to Blantyre in Malawi. Malawi immigration and customs is pretty chaotic. It takes us over an hour to clear. It's 2 o'clock by the time we find our bus and head north to Zomba. We're only on the outskirts of Blantyre, the commercial center and second largest city in Malawi with over 1 million people. It's only 35 miles to the old colonial capital of Zomba. From the produce for sale alongside of the road, it looks like we'll be eating well tonight. That is until we stop for this boy selling mice. They're a delicacy for the local Chua people. We're headed for Zomba Plateau, which at over 6,800 feet towers over Zomba town. We stop halfway up at a viewpoint for a photo op. We soon arrive at the top and are home for one night, the Kuchawi Inn. The rooms are very nice and each one has a great view of the valley below. We have a little time before dinner to explore the gardens. We find some bird life. We also see some cute feral cats. After dinner, we relax and enjoy the sunset. We start the day with a walk through the pine forest to the reservoir. Butterflies are plentiful along the road. We hear a commotion in the trees, and it's several blue monkeys, which are more gray than blue. We meet our bus at the Mulunguzi Dam for the trip down the mountain. We have one stop in Zomba town, the market. This is the main market for the area. It has everything from fabric to truck and car parts, mostly used, tinware, pots and pans, buckets, grains and beans and legumes, dried fish from Lake Malawi and Lake Chilwa, artfully arranged. Lots of really nice looking produce. Especially the tomatoes. It's winter here. How about a fresh chicken for dinner? Our next stop is Liwonde, to catch a boat to Mvuu Lodge in Liwonde National Park. Our guide makes sure we see this sign before we get on the boat. We must be a bit of a novelty. The fishermen are paying more attention to us than their nets. We pass a few more fishermen in their dugout canoes. Then we see our first wildlife, hippos in the water hyacinths. Then more hippos. This is starting to look like hippo heaven. It's the Shire River, the only outlet of Lake Malawi and the largest river in Malawi. It's 250 miles long, flowing into the Zambezi in Mozambique. The hippos look big. They are in fact the third largest land mammal after elephants and rhinos. But don't be fooled, they can run 20 miles an hour over short distances. Our boatman stays well away from them. They're very aggressive and unpredictable. Despite their looks, they're among the most dangerous animals in Africa. True to the advertising, there are crocodiles in the river. They can get up to 20 feet long and weigh 2,400 pounds. Then we see the elephants. It looks like an ideal environment for them too. Our guide says that there are an estimated 900 elephants and 2,000 hippos in Liwonde National Park. But that's not all, he tells us. There are more than 400 species of birds here. We stop to watch a kingfisher hunting. He first hovers, then dives, and flies to a branch to devour his catch. And there's still more. Some water bucks have come out to greet us.
Thank you. There's a warthog. Baby.
A warm welcome to Mvuu Lodge.
Our Our guide Justin leads us to the bar for refreshments. It's almost 3 o'clock, but lunch is waiting for us. We tuck into the delicious fish and quiche. Then we retire to our tents to unpack and get ready to explore Liwonde National Park. Mvuu Lodge is the only lodge inside Liwonde National Park, making it a great base for wildlife viewing. Our daily routine will be a walking safari before breakfast, a boat ride on the Shire River in the morning, a siesta after lunch, and a game drive in the late afternoon. The early morning walking safari allows for a close-up look at the environment, not just big animals. Justin is very knowledgeable about the flora of the park. The fruit of the sausage tree is up to 2 feet long and weighs 15 pounds. Baboons are especially fond of the woody fruit. The fever tree is one of the few trees where photosynthesis takes place in the bark as well as the leaves. The fever tree got its name from early European settlers who noted that malaria was contracted in areas with these trees. Strangler fig grows around its host and eventually kills it. The baobab tree is valued as a source of food, water, medicine, and shelter. They can be very old, possibly as much as 1,500 years. Justin has a good eye for the small or hidden things, like this gecko on a fever tree, or interesting flowers, or an owl watching us from a tree. 80% of Liwonde National Park is Mopani forest. The tree's leaves grow in pairs and are shaped like butterfly wings. Mopani means butterfly. We stopped to look at an aptly named python vine. Elephants love the leaves and seeds of the Mopani trees, and there are many footprints on the game trails through the forest. There are no large predators like lions and leopards in Liwonde, so the impala are curious but wary. We keep well away from the hippos, but we stop to examine a hippo jawbone. The warthogs check us out too. Then back to the lodge for breakfast. The morning boat ride gives us a good look at life along the river. Next to the dock is a cormorant roost tree. While we wait to board the boat, we watch a Nile monitor raid a bird's nest. And several birds are going about their business on the riverbank not far from the dock. The promise of more birds, as well as elephants and hippos, we're eager to explore more of the river. We follow the cormorants to a nesting site on the other side of the river. The trees are white with bird dropping, and the trees are full of nesting cormorants. The white-breasted cormorant is common on freshwater waterways of sub-Saharan Africa. A crocodile also gets a whitewash. He's probably waiting for a chick to fall out of a nest. A Nile monitor gets the treatment too. We love to watch the elephants. We can safely approach them much closer from the water than we could from land. Because of their inefficient digestive system, they must eat up to 300 pounds of grass every day and wash it down with 11 gallons of water. Cattle egrets follow the elephants, feeding on insects that they kick up. As you'd expect, kingfishers are well represented here. From the giant kingfisher, the largest in Africa, to one of the smallest and most beautiful, the malachite kingfisher. In between are the brown hooded kingfisher and the very plentiful pied kingfisher. We saw a little drama at a pied kingfisher's burrow, now occupied by a Nile monitor. My vote for the most majestic bird on the river goes to the African fish eagle. They weigh less than our bald eagle, but have a larger wingspan. Waterbuck, as their name implies, are well adapted to this life along the river. Storks, egrets, and herons are also well represented here. The openbill uses its specialized beak to pry open mussels and snails. The hammerkopf's head does look like a hammer. The great egret is found on every continent except Australia and Antarctica. These small herons stand perfectly still at the water's edge and wait to ambush their prey. We didn't miss the hippos on our boat rides. We saw little hippos. We saw big hippos. We saw hippos with birds. We saw hippos with scenery. Hippos looked at us. Hippos yawned at us. But mostly they just ignored us and went about their hippo business. And we're back at the Mvuu Lodge. Mvuu, by the way, means hippo in Quechua. After lunch, it's time for a siesta. But it's tough to sleep when the vervet monkeys come for a visit, or when the bee eaters are hunting right off your deck. The afternoon game drive lets us explore Liwonde National Park, inland from the river, and further from the lodge than we could on the walking safari. In addition to the impala that we saw on the walking safari, we see a very skittish bushbuck, a very handsome male waterbuck, and the impressive horns of the greater kudu with his harem. It's a whole different set of birds, the forest and grassland dwellers. There are small perching birds and large iridescent ones with large bills, and ones with raucous calls. There are more varieties of bee eater. There's the smallest parrot in Africa. There are large and small birds of prey. There are ground birds, and some oddities, a vulture who's a vegetarian, and a kingfisher who hunts insects in the forest. From the river, we saw lots of elephants, but no little ones. Here is the nursery. There are some really little ones, up to some adolescents. A warthog family stopped us in the road. Dad struck a defiant pose, then let us pass. A baboon meditates in the fading sun of late afternoon. It's time for that African safari tradition, sundowners. Enjoying your favorite libation as the sun sets over the African bush. And we enjoyed several spectacular sunsets with elephants and the river in the foreground. Truly a grand way to end the day. We enjoy our last breakfast at Mvuu Lodge. Then it's off to the airstrip for our flight north. Our airplane is right on time. We load our bags, then say goodbye and thank you to our new friends at Mvuu Lodge.